Here, everyone. And as I said, wasn't able to chat to John live because I think it's like 2 o'clock in the morning right now for John. But here we are, and I've been able to chat to John. So you guys can hear what he's got to say. John, I've already done the instructions on who you are, so it's so lovely to see you, and thank you so much for being one of our first guests into our fundraising nest live launch.
My pleasure. I wish I could be there live, but like you said, time zones just didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking actually, it's probably nearly 4 years since we've known each other, which is feels like quite a long time. And what's even more bizarre is we've never met in person.
Correct. Yeah. For the first individual giving summit. That's right.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and that was great. I loved how we set up a WhatsApp group. I think that's one of the motivations that's got me to this point is that I don't think I disguise how much I think you're a wonderful human being. And I think it's amazing that you can have these relationships and not even have met each other.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's what I want to kind of bring to the community. You know, there is an essence of we do live more online now and things. And I wrote an article the other week how I think when I was growing up, I looked at people that inspired me, even what they wore, how they walked, how they talked, how they dressed, because you were around people all the time. I remember looking at people going, how did you get to be that person? Because you're watching them all the time, but I don't think you get that the same way. Well, I think you can get it virtually if you put the effort in. I know you've been there for me through the years. I have probably wore my heart on my sleeve more than most, but it just felt you've got such empathy and understanding that you're just someone that people that I felt that I could talk to. So from me, thank you. Anyway, this is about you, John. Who are you? For the people that don't know John Lepp, who is John Lepp?
I am Canadian, first and foremost. I live outside of Toronto, and I'm a partner at a firm called Agents of Good. And so we work with charities and not for profits around the world, mostly in North America, Europe, and some in Australia as well.
Fabulous. And I know that you have last year created an amazing book called Creative Deviations. I think you've got it there to show us.
Yes, I do. Thanks for the plug. Yes, that's my book.
Look at that. That's what I love about it. I only got it, and I think I saw a photo of your recent conference, and somebody was holding it, and I was like, "It's huge!" I love the book.
It's huge. In fact, I looked up on Amazon this morning, Amazon Australia, and they you can only get it from Germany. They print it in Germany.
Wow! And I noticed as well. I've got it on my phone. There's only one left.
Yeah, well,
On the
I think it's print on demand. So I think if you want more than one, you can do. But yeah, so you can get it anywhere. But if you have to ship from Canada, it will take a little bit of time to get there.
So, as it says in Amazon, it's an anecdotal and thoughtful how-to guide to help you become more creative. Tell me, like, so where have you? Let's go backwards a little bit. Have you always been in the kind of creative? Have you always been in the fundraising kind of non-for-profit space?
No, I started off in like general marketing and pharmaceutical advertising and journalism was kind of where I sort of started and sort of found my way into fundraising like a lot of people. And yeah, but I've been working in fundraising now for about 25 years. So the book really it's meant to be a how-to guide on how to be more creative, but more importantly, just take little creative steps that make your fundraising a lot more interesting and raise a lot more money because so much fundraising is such like everyone follows this formula. Even out of Australia, you have only a couple primary firms who have been producing the same kind of direct response for all the time. So again, if you change that, if you look at it differently with a different sort of lens, you don't look at it with the same kind of different lens too, because everything they get looks kind of the same. So we're always trying to find what are little things we can do to get them to look at. But it's more than just getting looked at. You want people to take action. So the book's a bit marketing, it's communications, it's design, it's copywriting, it's strategy, it's a bit of everything. If you work in direct response or individual giving, it's a fun, I think, very useful guide for doing more creative work.
Awesome. And I'm guessing it's something you're very proud of.
I am. I never really thought I would write a book, but I think all of us we have our own journey in our career, and I think I've always arrived exactly where I need to be when I was ready to be there. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I have colleagues who have like written books or have spoken at the biggest conferences when they're like in their late 20s, and I'm like, where do you go from there? I mean, I don't know. For me, I feel like I've earned the right to write a book because I have enough information to put into that people find useful, and I'm really blown away by the feedback I've gotten from people around the world who've bought it. I mean, they really, even on Amazon, there's not tons, but there's a growing number of reviews, and people are really email me all the time. It's humbling. It's
I
quite a
think
thing.
it's wonderful. And I really love how you said there, um, that you feel like you've earned the right to it. You know, we all want, you know, the youth to be kind of leading the way in things, but actually there is something to be said for experience. And I'm
Mhm.
only realizing that the older I get. You know, I was young, I was hungry, I was like, no, I can do this, I can do this at this age. And I realized actually it's not about kind of, I guess, ability, or technical kind of ability. It's about what you experience, the situations that you experience, and that's something only time can offer you in some ways, isn't it?
There's room for everybody, and there's room
Yeah,
for everything. Do you know what I mean? And I
yeah,
just, for me personally, I couldn't have written this book 15. I could have written it, but it wouldn't be what it is. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? So yes, I'm happy that I wrote, but yes, quite a. I'm glad I didn't know what it meant to do, what it meant to be to write a book, because I don't know if
yeah.
I would have, to be honest. Yeah, it was.
Awesome. So one of the things about the hub, it's what we're doing here at the Nest. It's about people. You know, people for me. That my biggest inspiration through my whole life. People inspire people. I think alongside education, you know, conferences and coaching, everything that we learn, it's about knowledge. But for me, a lot of my knowledge kind of has come from peer support. When you can reach out and when you can share your good, your bad, your ugly with your peers, I think that really leaves a mark with you. And I think I don't shy away from the fact that I think it's all right to try and emulate people that are changing the world, because you know if you can take a little bit of what they're doing, that is what kind of I think creates change. Everyone inspired them on. So, have you been inspired by people along your journey? Kind of, can you think of it? You know, is that something that is important to you as well? Being inspired by other people.
Absolutely, especially as creative. I mean, we're always taking in different things to sort of motivate us to come up with new things or create new things. And certainly for me, people, I've always moved through my life in a kind of a vulnerable, kind of emotional way, like you, Michelle, where I do wear my heart on the sleeve, and I'm okay to ask for help. And I'm the first person to say, I don't know what you're talking about. I want to understand this. And I've been so grateful that I've had a lot of mentors through my career and still do that guide me and help answer questions or point me in the right direction or just chat about things. And in return, I like to do the same thing. I mean, that's been a big part of my career is mentoring people as they've discovered direct mail and or just trying to figure their way through their careers or just need a shoulder to cry on. You know, it's a tough world out there some days, and we need space to share the shit we're going through because it's not fun sometimes. And that's a massive part of my work. So yeah, absolutely. I think we're all a lot of the best people are open to learning from all different places and people. So this,
Absolutely, and I think that's why connections I think connections made in this sector. I mean, you could probably in many sectors, but for our, you know, our friendship, for example, I think because we work in the sector, there's something about the people that work in our sector that when you meet them, there's I guess kindred spirits. You know,
Mhm.
a lot of us, you know, we're not in this because we want to be, you know, kind of, yeah, it's a sector that does come with a certain, I guess, kind of person who does want to make a difference in the world, and I think just one commonality is what can, you know, is this the foundation of a friendship, isn't it? You just have to have one thing in common, and if that happens to be your desire to make life better for other people, then that's the starting point of what could be a beautiful friendship, relationship, support, and learning from. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit. So Canada, where you are right now, John. Tell me what was your childhood? I just want people to kind of get to know you a little bit more. What was John's childhood like? What was it like in Canada?
You know, it's funny when I was writing the book, I sat down to write a certain chapter. I had certain days I wrote every day, and was going to write a chapter about I forget what it was about, and I started writing the chapter about how I got here because for me it was such a monumental part of like how this book even came together and stuff. So I mean, I grew up in the country, and I worked at feed mills and farms and dug graves for a summer and golf courses, and yeah, I kind of did a bit of everything. And my every stepping stone in my life had a sort of learning part to it that I inject in my work now, and I'm really really proud of that, and I wanted to share that journey without. I'm not trying to bore people and stuff like that, but I think it explains me and
Mhm.
explains why I'm doing this or why I did this and stuff. So again, for some people, I even had my daughter a couple weeks ago. She read it out loud to me, and I've not even read my own book yet, which sounds very strange. I was like, oh, wow. And she asked questions about that journey. And I think it explained things to her too and stuff. So I don't want to bore people. You don't need to read the chapter, it's at the back for a reason. But I think there are lessons that I picked up along the way that really made me who I am
Yeah,
and really made what I bring to my work sort of interesting, special rather than just doing a job. Because I'm not here to do a job, I'm here to educate and train and help and teach and learn and grow and challenge and get challenged, and I'm here for all of it. So
I
it's
love it. Yeah, I love it. It's so important to bring a bit of who you are. Me, some might say I bring way too much of me to what I do, and I know that's not for everyone. But for me, I even who I work who I work with and the people I'm inspired by, they are the people that bring a bit of who they are. And I know it's not for everyone, but the more you can bring of yourself to what you do, I think the, yeah, it's just so natural for me. But yeah, I think it's super important.
really is what the book is about. Is that people have said to me, I'm not creative like you. I can't do this stuff you do, and I'm like, well, we were all born creative.
Mhm.
Like, that's how we enter this world. It's knocked out of some of us as we move through the institutions that educate us and so on and so forth and stuff. But we all have the ability to be creative, and being creative is fun. It's scary as hell too, right? Because we're going to get challenged, we're going to get judged. And so again, I want people to feel more empowered in their work by being a little more creative. And I'm not talking about big scary things. In some cases I am, and some cases stuff that people won't even notice,
Yeah,
but does make a difference. And so I think that's the thing for people is it's in locking that inner creative in themselves and move through it, because being creative is being connected to something. You
yeah.
can't you can't just mail it in, har har. You can't just a tablespoon of this, teaspoon of this, and throw in the oven and walk away. You need to be invested in what you're creating if you're doing your work properly. So I ask people, what kind of fundraiser do you want to be? If you want to be connected to your work, then that means being creative, means taking some challenges, means trying and tasting and seeing what happens as you mix things up a little bit. But
Totally.
that's being,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm a total foodie. Aside from fundraising, I'm either kind of, yeah, I love cooking, and it's like that too. You know, I've got my chefs who inspire me, maybe because of who they are, or ultimately the food's got to look delicious though. But rarely
mm,
do I. I'm a terrible baker because it's too. You've got to be too exact on the ingredients. Whereas, other recipes, I just use what I've got and tools I've got, and maybe add more salt and chili. And I think that's what it is. It's what we need the basic recipes of fundraising. We cannot kind of ignore the one, the principles and the the foundations of fundraising. But you've got to add your own flavors, don't you?
absolutely, yeah. And you have to participate in it. I think the best stuff you do, but I do think unfortunately our sector does use that sort of a baker's mindset where it's like, well, just put the logo right here in this box, and if I do this right here and do this right here and put it in here, then that's what I'm going to get. Yeah, it kind of turns out that way, but you can't. You have to be thinking your way through this stuff, tasting, as you say, as you go through it, and I think then you create more interesting work that will raise more money. It just I've seen it time and time again. So it's not just about having fun and getting your hands dirty. It's actually about raising a lot more money for the causes that need us to raise more money for them.
Yeah, because the people we're talking to, they're not like these unique people, these labels we give them. They're other people. They're human beings. They're not this kind of this special group of people that we need to. Yeah, they're just like me and you. They're just people who want to be inspired by what they read or what. They're just other people.
They want to help. They're there to help. That's what they want to do. But we do a lot to get in their way. all the time, everywhere,
Yeah,
digitally, in print, everything I turn around and look at, we're just creating little barriers for them to do the one thing they want to do, and it drives me
yeah.
crazy. I don't know why. I know why we do it, but I wish we didn't do it so often. So
Yeah, nice segue into my next question. So, what excites you the most about the next few years we're facing?
what excites me the most? Oh, I would say it's probably I hate to call it the next generation, but I know a lot of people who have come into the sector because they want to be in the sector. I feel a desire to help support them so they don't leave the sector. And continuously so, I see a lot of people just going, fuck it, this isn't for me because there are too many dumb people who are in charge of too many freaking things. Um, so I'm excited by their enthusiasm and their desire. They don't see this is not a binary world. This isn't nothing is yes and no. There's not one or two ways to do anything. It can be whatever they want to be. They're not interested in old white guy rules. Do you know what I mean?
No,
Like
they're
they're
not.
all, and I think that's extremely exciting. I think that will actually hopefully force a lot of people who are still in the sector out of it and really make it a much more enriching place than it has been for a couple of generations now. So that's always going to excite me, and being there alongside and just seeing how that all plays out. Like I'm moving to the second half of my career now and feeling a bit of like one of the older guys, and that's cool. But I'm super fired up to see what's going to happen. And I think there's lots of if we can keep these people here and plugged into their work and connected to people like you and me who are passionate by nature and by our work, and feel like that they're growing and flourishing, they'll stay. And I think they'll do some really interesting things. And I can't wait to see what those things will be. Be
Yeah,
awesome.
I love it. I totally agree. I think it's about, breaking down those. For me, I I've still got it, but I left school at 15 through my own kind of trauma and kind of that I went through with no qualifications, and it's never left me that I am not, a qualified person. And I've been in jobs and people have said to me, "Who gave you a job? You don't, what degree have you got?" And I'm like, "A degree in life." And they're like, "Who would give you a job without a degree?" And I know that mentality still exists, that a formal education, but no, we can be educated in so many different ways, and I think that is it's really nice to see that kind of that being broken, and it's about, yes, standing up for how you got to where you are and what you believe in is really exciting,
Mhm.
and finding the people with lived experiences. I know it's still something that's not talked about enough, but when you have lived experiences, it just changes everything. It changes how you write, how you understand the world, and it does count for a huge amount, as well as the education stuff.
Mhm.
Um, we're going to wrap up soon, and we are just one. I guess when I'll finish off here with, what advice would you give to your younger self? What do you wish you knew now that you didn't then?
Oh, frick. Come on, this wasn't on the cheat sheet.
I know.
I think just just I had to trust my own self and my own having confidence in my own process. We do still live in a world that people expect things really really quickly. Like if you start this account, you'll get 1,000 followers, and if you start a business, you're gonna do that. Like there's this always like people want everything so quickly, and I think just like this, the whole idea of creative deviations, it's about the thousand small things. We know in our real life relationships, it takes time to grow a best friend. Do you know what I mean? There's 1,000 things that go into maintaining these connections with people we care the most about. It's a slow game, and I think I've always sensed that about my work and my place. I never was in a rush to get anywhere or do anything. I figure I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be at this moment and just be in this moment and enjoy it.
I love that, and John, I think that really oozes out of you. I think everything that you possess is that, and that is so beautiful. And I yeah, I need to learn that too. It is, everything is meant to be at the right time. Absolutely. I'm going to squeeze in one more question. Tell us something about you that we might not know.
Something about me that you might not know. Uh,
Unrelated to work.
Um, uh, I used to have a YouTube cooking show that still exists. It's
Did you
called
really?
The Drunk Chef. It's still they took down a lot of the shows because I used to use music that I wasn't allowed to. But there are still some episodes from many years ago of me cooking in my kitchen, just dishes you can make at home, and yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. I'm actually, that's where I'm going right now to look for the drug chef. That's awesome. We will be putting a link to to your book because I think it's amazing, and I know we've spoken over the years about getting you out here, and I really, really hope we can bring you out here next year, and do a bit of a speaker tour around Australia and New Zealand. I know you're chock-a-block this year. You're highly in demand, but I know we will continue our conversations, and I really hope we get to have that beer that you owe me for standing me up the first time we tried to pre-record this session.
Absolutely, you got it. Absolutely.
John, thank you so much. John has come on board as a Maven to the Fundraising Nest as well. That's up on our Fundraising Nest website. You'll find out more about the Mavens and how they are going to be involved in the Fundraising Nest. But John will be in the Community Hub as well, and that's what I love about the Community Hub. He's a super busy man, but if you want to ask John a question after this video, I'm sure at some point he will jump in and answer your questions. That's what the Hub's about. It's about having direct contact with the people that maybe you'd be like, oh, I'd love to talk to John, but he probably won't reply because he's super amazing. But the space we're creating means he maybe will just reply to you. So, John, it's been an absolute delight. Thank you so much for joining us, and let's yeah, let's hopefully see you here next year.
You will. Thanks
All
for
right,
sharing.
bye, John. See ya.